What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Watch Dogs Legion's multiplayer. Talk about what's going on with it, what I want to see in it, what I think we will overall see, when we'll see it, all that kind of stuff in this video. So, we had Ubisoft Forward last week. It was okay. We got a couple things. We got Watch Dogs. We got Watch Dogs Legion in terms of Aiden obviously coming back, right? But nothing in regards to multiplayer. Now, multiplayer was something that they had talked about a few weeks ago. I think the last week in August, they had mentioned multiplayer when they were talking about permadeath, that there is permadeath in this game, that it's not tied to difficulty, and that it's not going to be in multiplayer. The multiplayer is going to be different than that. They are going to have details on multiplayer, and they are going to talk about it soon. So that was like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, maybe at the most. We're getting a month and a half away from the release, and multiplayer is probably going to be a pretty big part of this game. It's been a pretty decent sized part of the Watch Dogs 1, of Watch Dogs 2. So we have to first ask, I think for a video like this, in terms of predictions, when are we going to see the multiplayer? I think we have to see it before the end of this month. I can't imagine, although, I've said that many times for different things, and sometimes it happens, I can't imagine we go into October, the month of its release, and we still don't know about the multiplayer for it. I just feel like they should probably give us that. And if they and the thing to remember with any game really is the lead up to the game, they show more and more, they talk about it more and more, we get more details, a lot of stuff comes out as we get very close. So we're like, 6-7 weeks before the game releases. That is around the time that we normally get a lot of stuff. So I would say, honestly, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even that first week of October, we would get multiplayer. I think you'd have to show it because really, you can only talk about so much of the story of what you're going to be able to do with these characters, which they've shown us quite a bit. And like I've said multiple times, it's my favorite part of what we've seen. I think that's absolutely amazing if they can pull it off, and I honestly feel like they will. But multiplayer is the only other thing that we really haven't dived into all that much. Now, what can multiplayer be? Well, they have a real chance here to do some really amazing things with multiplayer. One thing that I think is for me is a want that I absolutely think, and I think will also be in this game, is just general free roam. Give us the world, drop us in there, allow us to do pretty much whatever we want. Now, there'll be, I'm sure, missions that you can do with people. I'm sure there'll be like activities you can do with people, which we'll talk about in a second. But for me, playing Watch Dogs 2, just some of the most fun I had with Watch Dogs 2 was with my cousin. We played this game, and all we did is create chaos. That's literally the only thing we did in Watch Dogs 2. We didn't do really anything that we could do together. I mean, there were some of those like bases basically where you could like attack and take everybody down. Like we did that. And that was fun, I guess. And I'm sure, by the way, again, there should be things like that here. And to be honest with you, it's in a better position. Watch Dogs Legion is in a better position than any of the other Watch Dogs games to do stuff like this because now we have different people. And it really does seem like these people are going to be very, very different from each other. They'll be able to handle a situation differently. So if there are like, I don't know, just literally just objectives in general, but if you need to take out like an area of people or you need to infiltrate something, whatever a mission may be that they, pose with Watch, or again, just kind of areas on the map where there's like the villain, okay, they've like controlled an area, you have to go and you have to take everybody out. That would be, I think, more fun now than it's ever been before. Now, again, to me, that's not honestly, the most important thing to me is just letting us go about the world and just have fun, create chaos, and go from there. The thing is, with this game being able to choose all these different people, with being able to recruit, that's what's going to be the most interesting thing is how, and we'll talk about this, is not necessarily a prediction, but how will they handle that aspect in multiplayer? So they made it a point to say that permadeath is not in the multiplayer. I almost wonder if the characters are going to kind of be reshuffled where you would be able to get the same people over and over and over again, because we know you can bring people back basically, like if they're arrested or if they're hospitalized, or as long as they're not killed in at least the main story, you could get them back. Now if they're dead, they're gone, okay, they're gone. And now permadeath, again, that's a little bit different. That's if you lose everybody on your team, you have nobody else to go to, then you lose and you have to restart. So that is, for a game like this, that is kind of crazy, but we know that characters can die and they would stay dead. Remember, they talked about how you have to be careful with that in the story because, like, the grandmother, right, the notorious grandmother of this game, she is like 1 in a million. If you find her, you recruit her, but you lose her, she dies, you probably will never get her again. So for multiplayer, my question is, do they do the same thing? The issue is you're going to be playing with however many people. Now, I don't know. I mean, how many people do you have? Sometimes you could have co-op. Sometimes you could have up to 4. Sometimes you can maybe have up to 8. The more people you have, the more people, like characters, the more in-game characters are going to be like taken away from you because they're going to either join your squad or join somebody else's. And that's kind of interesting to me is, do you ever lose them? Do they get taken off the board? Like if I'm playing with a friend or I'm playing with you guys online, which by the way, I really do want to do when this game comes out, and one of you recruits the grandmother, will I ever get a grandmother, or is she just off the board because you took her? I feel like that's kind of the right thing to do, is let her go to you and you just don't repopulate her, because I guess the point of the multiplayer, in my opinion, or like what I imagine it, is kind of an extension of the single player. So if we're taking place in this world that has all these people with all these distinct abilities, I don't know, multiplayer already you could say is a little bit like game breaking in terms of like the experience breaking, where you're already having more people than what you would experience in the main story. But for me, again, the main story, what makes it so, and not even, by the way, not even the campaign, the story itself. In fact, I could care less about what the heck is going on in this game. That has always been the least interesting, like I am not invested into the story at all. None of the Watch Dogs games, in my opinion, has had a good story. I just kind of ignore it. But I say the point of the game, the thing that makes this game so amazing, to me, it sounds so amazing at least, is the fact that all of these people are unique. And remember, that's some of the stuff that I said that they can't mess up on, that I don't want people with the same voice. I think at some point you're going to get people that are just going to act the same. I really can't imagine you're constantly recruiting like hundreds and hundreds of people and you're never going to find somebody who's like somebody else. I think eventually you will kind of break that. If you do online, you're going to, again, recruit these people faster and faster, but if you don't repopulate, or if you do repopulate, let's say that, if you do repopulate them with like the same people, you're kind of breaking the whole basic core of this game, in that everybody is unique. Why would you want to play with somebody who has the grandmother when you yourself, but that's another thing as well, is when you go into the multiplayer, are you creating your own character? Pretty interesting. That's why, by the way, because I'm kind of going around in circles here, and I feel like I could for another indefinite amount of time, but that's in a nutshell why they need to talk about the multiplayer. I think there's a lot of potential there. And again, in terms of like my wants for it, I don't really have that many expectations. I just want to be able to go around. I want to be able to kind of take what we've been doing. And you know what? Even if they connected, by the way, the story with the multiplayer, in terms of if I have people in my single player and then I go into multiplayer and I keep them, or vice versa, this is kind of a game where I'd imagine that happens. So if you want to talk about prediction, that could very well be one, that if you get a character in the single player, you'll have them in your squad in multiplayer, and vice versa, or if you get somebody in the multiplayer, you'll carry them over to the single player. That kind of makes it so that, you can play multiplayer, you can have fun with your friends, you can do, because again, there'll be objectives and things you can do online. So you can be doing that, you can be having fun, but you can also basically be building your squad that you can then take in the single player and then do stuff with, or again, vice versa. You're playing the single player, you really want to get it done, you really want to see what the story has, and in that way, you're constantly getting more people, and then when you jump into multiplayer, you have like an army at your disposal. I think that makes sense. I think that's a feature that's very easy, by the way, to just say out loud. I don't know why, again, I really don't know why they're holding it back. I really, really don't. So, again, I think the potential is really, really enormous, even though my expectations aren't even all that high on multiplayer. We need to see it. We need to see it very, very soon. I truly do believe over the next 2 to 3 weeks. I can't imagine they go like a week, 2 weeks before Watch Dogs comes out and the multiplayer still isn't revealed yet. It's got to be before then. So guys, let me know in the comments below, when do you think they're going to announce the multiplayer, and what do you think it's going to be about? Do you think you can take characters and cross them over? What kind of things do you think we'll be able to do in the multiplayer? If you lose a character, you think they're gone for good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel, Podcast Now. channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And I'm starting, this is official, okay? My Watch Dogs coverage is official. I'm going to be covering it at least one time a week, doing a different video on it. Very, very exciting. We'll lead into the game's release. We'll play the game. We'll have a ton of fun there. And I'll announce some of the stuff I'm going to do with the game as we get closer, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.